Hello. Welcome everyone to the next lecture of data analytics using Excel. I am Dhruv. I will be your tutor for the day. In this lecture, we'll start working with visualizations now, and I will teach you when to exactly use which particular visualization. And we'll actually try to work around a particular case that I've created for you. So let's just dive into it. If you can see my screen in front of you right now, I actually have to explain you the entire case study first. So the objective is that you are working in a company X as a data scientist, right? Now you have been asked that you have all of this data given to you, and you have been asked to create a deck for the company or your manager so that he can represent it in the final portfolio account. So the company which you are actually a data scientist in is actually a portfolio management service, and these are the stocks that they have been holding for the last 24 years, and you actually have to write, or 25 years, and you actually have to write only about these particular stocks and try to create the best visualizations. Now there can be some mismatches also in terms of what exactly will be happening and how things are going to move around, but all you have to do is summarize everything in as less charts as possible. So for this example, I have stock A, stock B, stock C, as you can see in front of your screen. And if I'm going to select everything, right, and I actually have to go to insert to add charts, and then I'll go to recommended charts. Just because we are actually learning about all of these charts, I would like to go to all charts so that we can understand, okay, which particular charts are the ones that we really want to work on. You can change the size of the entire pop-in which came in front of you, like that. And let's start with the column charts, and then we'll keep on working with all of them. So for this one, what was being suggested was a line chart in the very beginning, but as I can see, it is not going to give me a very good summarization of what exactly is happening in this entire data set, right? For this, that's why I will actually like to see what all can I have, and I can see that, okay, if I'm actually going to go with a column chart, maybe it is able to summarize everything even better. Okay, let's go ahead with column chart, or you can also go with bar chart, but I can see bar chart will be horizontally aligned and it might not fit with how I really want to represent the data, so I will actually go with the column chart in the first place. Now the other things which you might want to do is actually try to check which particular chart will fit best in terms of your needs, right? So if I actually have to give individual bar for each and every stock, then I can go ahead with this chart. Or if I actually have to give as a total percentage, let's say 100% is the total amount that my portfolio has gained, and 20% is from one stock, and 30% is from one stock, and 50% is from one stock, then 100% will be divided into 3 bars, that as you can see in front of you. For each year, I have 3 bars in front of me, and for each bar, the highest weightage will be given to the bar that has given the highest return in that one particular year, as you can see in front of your screen also, of how exactly all of this is actually happening. For me, I really like to think of creating 3D graphs. This sounds a little better because I can actually see which particular year which stock was actually going really well and which was not. So actually I will select this one. So I have 3D 100% stacked, I have 3D stacked one, so I will actually go ahead with 3D stacked only. This is going to be very cluttered because this is one after the other. I will not able to interpret which particular bar is representing what, right? Or you can actually have a graph like that, but this sounds way better. So I will actually click here, and then I will actually click on OK. So what I essentially did to represent 3 particular categories in the entire timeline, and I had the third data set in the y-axis, that is the percentage return. I actually use a column chart to represent everything, and because I really wanted to compare all of these 3 stocks together, I'm actually going with something known as 3D stacked column. I can always go with stacked column also, but I'm preferring 3D stock here. Although you can check which all is actually available for you. So if I'm going with this one, I can understand which particular year was the best for your stock, but we don't need it for this purpose. Or if required, you can also go with clustered column. Both will work. So I'll actually go with 3D clustered column, click on OK here, and the first chart is in front of you now. The second thing which you want to do is actually clicking here and then moving it wherever you feel it will fit best for an entire analysis. So that being said, second thing which you can see in front of you is this stock A, stock B, stock C. In the initial phase, if we had invested 100, what would have been the return of all of these at the end of year 24, right? So we'll actually have to create a timeline. And whenever we are actually working with timelines and what is the performance of a particular thing, try to always and always use line graphs, because it represents how the trend in a very generic and a very better way. So let's just try to work around with that and select everything. Control Shift arrow keys, insert, recommended charts, and you can see the line graph which is being available here, which is being recommended also. I'll just go with line graph here, and you can see it is a very beautiful chart. I can see what is the trend of all of these three stock across the period. I can go ahead with that, but let's just try to explore other graphs as well. So I have this graph, I have this graph, and then I have 100% stacked, and then I have a stock, a graph like this. Then I have stacked one, and then 100% stacked again, and then I have a graph like that. Although this might seem better, but all of such charts are actually good for the websites where you are actually inserting your graphs, because it might actually gain a lot of attention of the general public. For me, I think line with markers sounds best for me, because it can really represent the entire data set for me. So I'll actually click on OK here and insert that chart for myself. Right, so I'll keep it here. Another thing, so we have used this and we have used this as well. Another thing in front of us is, this is the final stock value. This is from year 2024, and then we have the initial value as well. Now what you might actually have to do is create two pie charts where you can compare how was the initial composition and what actually happened towards the end of 25 years. So let's just try to create two pie charts to compare both of them. I'll actually go to insert for that, or instead of actually going to recommended charts and going ahead with, then I can easily click on pie charts and I can see which one will exactly work for me. So there are a couple of options in front of me. I do not like these ones. I always prefer a donut chart or a 3D pie chart. So for this particular lecture, let's try with donut chart. It's just like how we have a pie chart, but it is more visually appealing. So initially, from this entire visualization, I can understand that the entire graph, all the three stocks had equi-weightage. So each and every stock was given the same portfolio value in the beginning of the year one. Now what I want to do is I will actually like to delete this one and this one as well, and select only this, and then actually I have to write that, and just select these, going to insert this and creating donut chart again. Now you have 4 set of graphs in front of you, right? So you might question why I actually have a different, let's say, graph altogether for let's say final value, and I chose actually a different one for my initial value. It might happen that to create your entire dashboard really visually appealing, you might try different types of graphs situated together in a particular format, and it looks like a proper report. Now if I'm going to click here, I can actually drag it towards the outer part a little, and it will change. So you can see how everything is moving for me. I'll actually going to click here and drag it towards the left. So now I'm actually able to highlight which particular stock gave the highest return, right? And that would be, if I'm going to point at this particular pie chart alone, you can see that is stock A. So everything started from equi weight, but stock A was the highest growth one for me. And I can see that there are years where it has crossed 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%, then again 30%, again 30%, again 30%, again 30%. There's some years where it is between 20 to 30 as well. right? So this is one thing which we really like to notice. And now I'm actually able to create a story out of this entire thing of how stock A in comparison to all three of them move. What is the portfolio composition in the beginning and how is the portfolio composition towards the end of the year? And then another thing that I have in front of me is how these returns were actually segregated all across the year, right? One more thing which I would like to actually have is, let's say what we'll be able to get if I'm actually using only average value. So average value is actually the average of the return that I got all across the years, right? So if I'm going to choose only these, let's see which particular chart will fit our analysis the best. So column is something that we have used, line is something that we have used, pie is something that we have used. Now let's not try to restrict ourselves to a particular chart. We can always go ahead with the same type of chart and use it for our entire dashboard. For now, I'm actually going ahead to actually see what all I can do, and I can see a chart like this will actually make much more sense for me, where I'm actually using a bar graph, right? So if I'm going to click here and click on OK, I can see now I have a graph for average as well. Okay, I'm not able to move this properly, but here we go. Align properly now. And I can see what is the differentiation between the average returns that I've got across the years, right? Another thing, let's say we are selecting this again, and you can see that column chart and bar graph, they're more or less very similar, but we actually need to see what will fit best in terms of the dashboard that we are creating. For this particular lecture, I have taken bar graph as an example. Then we have area graph. Now, if you actually have to work around with area graph, let's just try to select all of this and go to recommended charts again, and then go with area chart, stacked area, or let's just go to area and see what all is available with us. So now you can see how this is even better. It looks even more eye appealing, but let's just try to explore what all is available with us. And then we have this one, we have this one. I think I will be able to work around with this one better. Let's see if this is actually fitting, or the other ones were actually better. I think from my experience, I feel like this would be actually better for my entire analysis. So I'll actually choose this one and not the other ones, right? Actually, I have to delete all of them and select everything again. Then go to insert, recommended charts, and then I will actually go to all charts, and then I will go to area chart and seek which I want. I really want to have this one, or I was thinking I can have this one as well. But these are stacked ones. I really don't want the stacked ones. These are 3D, but it is not properly available. See, the problem in this one is all the figures are stacking one over the other, which we do not want. You can see the graph reaching around 5,000 here, but that's not the case if we add up all of them. So that graph might not be the best one for us at this particular moment. But what we can do to actually make sure we still have a proper area graph is to choose this one. This looks even better for our dashboard, right? So now all of these charts combined are able to tell a certain story, right? So let's just see what else we can do with the graphs that we have. Instead of actually selecting everything, let's just see what will happen if we not select any data and we're directly going to insert column and then recommended charts. And then we have something known as scatter plot. So scatter plots are not majorly used when we have such data, but if you actually have to use that, let's just try to copy, just select all of that and then go to recommended charts and then all, and then go to X and Y. Now let's just see which one will be the best one. And now you can see, if I'm going to select this particular array, or which is the, what I'm trying to do here is, the question that I have in my mind right now is, which is that one chart which is actually giving you the gist of everything in front of you, right? And I think this one sounds really good. So if I'm actually able to see this graph right now, this for stock B, and I can create the same for other stocks as well. So what this graph is telling me right now here is that, okay, most of the information that I have received in terms of, let's say the stock returns for stock B, the returns are majorly between 10 to 30, right? As you can see, and I can create multiple, let's say bubble graphs, like for stock A, for stock B, and stock C, so that I can have a comparison right in front of me. If you want to understand what I really mean here is, I will select these all, control shift down arrow, control shift down arrow again, and then I will go to insert, and once I'm in the insert column, let's go to recommended charts, let's go with scatter, and this one. I actually have to check this one, recommended, all charts, scatter, this one. And now you can see for stock A, that's not the case. What exactly is happening in front of us is, in this particular axis, that is for stock B, we actually had our x-axis as well as y-axis percentages. I will leave that for now. You can actually create such graphs again. I actually want to work on with other charts now. Okay, let's say I'm just going ahead and selecting these, and then these. So another one which I really like is a combo chart. Although how to actually properly work on with combo chart is something that I will be teaching you later. But sometimes, let's say you have a lot of information in front of you, and you are not able to summarize it in a very proper way. In that particular scenario, you might actually want to use such graphs, right? So right now, what I can see in front of me is that I really wanted to actually work around with all the three figure stock A, stock B, and stocks in terms of the portfolio together. But if all of them are, let's say, what do I say, bars, this is how the entire portfolio will look like over the years. But if I'm actually going to work around with, let's say, a line graph for one of them, I can actually do that. Now it looks a little better. It is not very cluttered. At the same time, I am able to understand the same scenario, what exactly is happening in my portfolio, right? So you can click here and then you can have it, right? Now let's just try to work around with these, right? So what we have here is, for ship mode, we have second class, and then for average, we have these figures. And now I'm actually going to change the case study based on what we were doing in our last lecture, so that you can understand what do I mean by creating these visualizations, which will actually make you understand a lot of things, right? So I'm just selecting everything here and then going to insert and then going to recommended charts. Now whatever you have learned, you can actually apply it here, and instead of actually going ahead and actually writing this average if and submitting it to your supervisor or whatever, you can actually work around with charts which will be like more appealing. And I can see if I'm actually going with a pie chart, it is way better for me. Now donut chart might not look good for this particular example, and not even 3D pie. I actually really want to go with a pie chart. And once I'm selecting, I can easily say that the highest revenue I'm getting from all of them is actually from the standard class. Now in the next lecture, we'll actually try to learn how we can edit all of the charts that we have created in these lectures, and how we can even improve on our entire dashboard that we have in front of us. Now consider this to be a particular dashboard in front of you. Although if this is nothing close to a dashboard, we'll be creating better dashboards, not specifically in Microsoft Excel, but in other tools like Power BI also in our later lectures. For this lecture, that would be it. Keep learning. Try exploring different functions in the insert column, and specifically for recommended charts, so that you can have a better hold on what exactly is happening, and you can understand a lot more, right? Although one more thing for that you can do for these figures is, you can actually try with a tree map. Let's see what will happen if I'm actually going to write a tree map. Tree map is just like a pie chart, because in pie chart we are actually trying to understand which particular value is having the highest weightage, right? And that's exactly what we are doing here. We actually created a particular canvas, and we are giving space based on how much percentage is standard class or second class or first class out of the entire portion. So because standard class is very high, we are giving really high weightage in our pie chart as well. That's exactly what is happening in our standard class as well. So if you actually have to create a lot of pie charts, try to create 3D pie charts, donut charts, simple pie charts, and tree charts together to actually give the same information to your consumers, right? So that would be the last chart for the day. If you have any doubts, please contact me. I will love to help all of you. Thank you everyone for joining.